Hey, I'm Nate Flax.
I'm Noah Longworth McGuire.
And this is Talking Lion.
Talking Lion is a podcast focused on artist-to-artist conversation.
We're primarily artists, a duo called Sleeping Lion, but we've been lucky enough to write, produce, and hang out with so many incredible rising artists since we started our project.
Whether it's at sessions or parties or over cups of coffee, we've talked with our creative friends about everything. Music, life, love, and all the subtle complexities that come with being in the middle of a journey.
Talking Lion is about hitting record on these conversations and sharing them with you. There's no real structure, nothing really prepared, just friends talking about life and what it's been like and where it's going.
We now have a Patreon for fans of our show to help keep this going. Subscribers will become a part of the show in various ways, from providing questions to our guests, to getting a shout out on the show, to actually being on the show to chat with us. We'll even send you a mug.
So check out our Patreon at patreon.com/talkinglion.
We recorded this episode with our longtime friend, Axel Mansoor.
We first met Axel years ago via Skype while we were still living in Boston. We immediately hit it off, reconnected when we moved to Los Angeles, and we've been friends ever since.
Some context for this interview. We recorded this over FaceTime while in quarantine. Axel was recently a contestant on the NBC show Songland, and his episode with the artist H.E.R. just aired. He also just released a single called Cold Sweat.
One of the kindest people we know and one of our first LA friends, Axel Mansoor's incredible voice and introspective spirit has inspired us to think deeply about what it means to be an artist and what's truly important in life. So,
without further ado,
I'm Axel Mansoor, and this is Talking Lion.
well, hello.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
It's good to finally have you on, Mr. Mansoor.
Honestly, it's a real pleasure, man. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Ever since I saw the artwork, I was like, I want to see what my not face would look like.
Well, you're in luck.
Well, you're gonna have as of this moment, you are now in the faceless art Hall of Fame, you know? Well, I'm happy to have you on here because, like, you were one of our first friends out here. Like, straight up, like, day 2, I think, like, we were at a pool party with, like, your old manager, Mike Ducey. And I just, like, I think about you and Zealand in the same sort of world. Or, like, you were the sort of first 2, like, LA people who made us feel confident that we would have friends when we moved out there, like that
you came to the right place.
Yeah, that like there are good people, and that, you know, worst case scenario, we'll have fun with great people, you know, like, and then best case scenario, we all come up and have, you know, make millions of dollars.
I feel like it was after our first FaceTime call that I made the banner on my Facebook page. We're essentially just writing songs and gathering drinking buddies, and I feel like it was because of that conversation. I'm just like, yeah, like. You know, like, regardless of collaboration, like, that guy just seems like the kind of guy you want to have a beer with.
And beers we've had.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And, you know, I mean, and I would love to have a beer with you, but I honestly am a little worried that I'm getting, like, a bit of a gluten intolerance. Ooh. And I don't know if that's just, like, as, like, a side effect of being in LA for too long, that you just start to become intolerant of normal people things.
I think that happens.
I mean, I started getting stomach problems early last year, you know?
Oh, man. Have you tried Prilosec? This is, like, not going to be about music at all.
No, listen, the podcast is better when it's not, so go off, man. No, I'm having a probiotic. I'm having Ultimate Flora.
Ultimate Flora?
There's over 30 billion. We are not sponsored by probiotics, but
it's real, man. Dude, having stomach problems is brutal. I've had, like, chronic stomach issues, and honestly, a lot of it has been tied to just, like, not eating right. You know, you can't have everything. No one's perfect.
Yeah, you can't have anything. But you've this is a big week for you. You were on a little TV show.
I was on the little TV show that could. For those who have no idea who I am and no idea what I'm referencing, I'm talking about Songland season 2 on NBC. I don't know. It's been pretty crazy, man. Like, it's been like 2 months or maybe longer. I mean, we started in February. That's when we started filming. And the filming was only like, it was like 14 days about. And then, like, between then and now, you know, there's just been this waiting period. And so to have this really intense, like, incredible filming experience, and then like 2 or 3 months of basically that almost not existing, and then for it to suddenly come back into existence and like in its biggest way ever is a total trip. Because even for me, like, I remember after we did filming, right, like within like 2 days, I was like, did that even happen? Like,
well, sometimes you probably have to hide things too, you know, just like.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like you basically can't acknowledge that it happened outside of the little bubble that it was filmed in. So like I was able to talk to like the other contestants and like the other people on the other episode that we actually filmed. There were 2 episodes filming at the same time. So it was my episode with her and the other episode.
Her the artist.
Her the artist. Yeah, that joke is going to be made a lot. But yeah, it was just so wild because like really it was like the only people that you could talk to about it were those people. It was a very small selection of people, and it felt like this big secret that I was sitting on for a long time. So it feels good to like actually be able to talk about it openly.
What made you decide to do the show?
You know, it's really funny. I was so against applying. Brian is my manager.
Shout out Brian.
Brian fucking Mooney. You can swear on this show, right?
Of course, yeah. This is not an FCC regulated program.
So Brian is my manager, and he literally had to like sit me down. He had to come over to my house and sit me down and make me do the application because I was so against doing it. And I was just like, I don't write pop songs. Like, I don't like, they're not going to want anything that I have. Like, so I was already being like, I was excluding myself by being like, oh, I don't deserve to be, you know, I'm not good enough to be in that company or whatever. But then more than that, I was like, I just don't want to do the work. You know, I don't want to go through the effort of doing the whole application just to be rejected. And Brian was like, just do it.
Classic
like,
artist non-starter mentality.
Yeah, totally. And Brian was like, just do it, man.
What's funny is when the sort of lineup for last year came out, we were realizing how many of our friends wound up being, I mean, there was Casey Cook and Jack Newsom, Caitlin Tarver, Nicole. Like there were so many like awesome LA friends about that. In my like heart, it added a level of credibility to the show. Because, you know, like we have friends who've done The Voice or American Idol and stuff like that. We've had them on the podcast, but there is something about like a show about songwriters that I was like, this could either really alienate actual songwriters or resonate with actual songwriters, you know? I still see Sam DeRosa's video like being circulated around, you know, which is super cool.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, like, in terms of like it being a show that is really for and about songwriters, and I promise I'm not being paid to say this.
we aren't either. This is just we're being honest with our reviews, you know.
Yes, totally. Honestly, if I don't give a lot of like 5-star reviews, but if I had to give a 5-star review, it would go to Songland. It is like, it's frustrating to be like, wow, as songwriters and as musicians, the status quo is for us to basically expect to get fucked.
Yeah.
Like, that's really unfortunate. And I think what Songland does so well, and I say this because I think there's a lot of talk, right? There's a lot of talk in industry, but especially in the music industry. People will say a lot of things, not just music, but entertainment industry. So what I really believe is like, you put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
And Songland really like positions itself as this show that's about songwriters. And like they call themselves like a love letter to songwriters. And I think that they really actually deliver on that in a really special way because the contract is so fair. Like, it is so reasonable. Like, if they wanted to, they could take advantage of all of the people on Songland in a multitude of ways, but they don't. Like, and people have signed away much more for much less.
That's really refreshing to hear. I'll be honest, like full transparency, I haven't watched the show. Obviously, like last year when our friends were on, we saw like clips when they were on and followed and listened to the songs when they came out and everything. But I haven't seen your episode either.
Dude, full transparency, I didn't watch any of season 1 either. I even by the time I had found out that I was going to film, I was still like, oh, I should probably watch an episode just to see how this show works.
Like, we go back, we do a quarantine listening party.
Yeah. So I actually did like an audition for like a couple years ago. And I actually got to the point where they offered me a contract, and I went over it with a lawyer, and I like understood what they wanted, and I was like, no fucking way. This is way too much. Like they want to own me, basically. It is a very raw deal for people who sign up for it.
You know, without talking about that contract specifically, people should recognize the impacts and implications of non-compete clauses and about, you know, what it means to actually sign your rights away, what work for hire is, what, you know, what you can get from a sync license, and what it means to have, you know, a major network being able to use your intellectual property for free on their,
right,
you know,
and how much how much control they have over your future, right? Like, again, like there are a lot of different aspects to it, but to get back to Songland and why I really respect them is, you know, that understanding of like how reality TV has tended to treat the people that go on it. They tend to treat them as resources, right? Instead of as people. And so for me, that made me really not interested in doing reality TV. That made me be like, I don't want to just be currency, like human currency. Like I only want to put myself in a position where I feel like I'm going to be respected. And Songland really does that.
Well, what's so nice about that too, though, is that like if Songland's pushing for that and also empowering songwriters to expect that, then songwriters
get
can
better
then,
participants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yes, but also songwriters can then and artists and everybody then can look at other shows that are offering comparatively worse deals and say, well, this is what Songland's doing. Like, why can't we get that from you? And then there's more of us. There will always be more of us than them. We can negotiate. There are ways where, like, when we all come together and recognize what's been unfair in certain industries, we can actually stop it and negotiate better. We can unionize. How did things go with her?
Oh man, she's the real deal, man. You know, I'm kind of a skeptic in a lot of ways, and especially as it comes to bigger and bigger opportunities, I tend to get more and more skeptical. And when I found out I was going to be on Songland and I was going to do the filming, and they hadn't revealed who our artists were yet, like they called us into this, you know, place in the hotel, and you know, they let us know who our artists were going to be. And as they were telling the different people who their artists were, I was like, oh, that's cool, but like I also have no idea who that person is. And like I was kind of worried that I was going to get somebody who I was like, wow, I've never even heard of this person, but like whatever, like it's still an amazing opportunity. And then when they like were like, the following people will be, you know, your artist is going to be her, and then they called my name, I was just like, holy shit. Like I felt so lucky because I was like, she's so relevant. She's so incredible. She got nominated for 10 Grammys in 2 years, and she's 22.
Yeah.
Like,
shit.
Aside from the critical acclaim, which is like insane, she's also just like a real artist. Like she's an actual, like, you know, I'll say this, I wasn't super familiar with her stuff. I had like been on like her top 5 on Spotify before, but like I hadn't really spent time with her catalog. And so when I found out she was my artist, I like went to really like spend some time with it. And the more I dug in, the more I found that like, here's this like, you know, multiple Grammy nominated artist who's like making like dope, real, emotional, complex music. Like that's just, and I was like, damn, that is so refreshing. Not that she's making complex music, but that she's obviously making the music that she wants to make.
Yeah.
Like she's not making music that's just like, you know, fucking cookie cutter kind of stuff. And she could if she wanted to. She could take the easy way out and just like do whatever people wanted her to do and still probably be incredibly successful. But like she has a real vision, and she like actually makes music. And
well, I think I like really like recognized how insane her talent was watching her perform at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Dude, she's insane.
Like
she
it was
shreds
crazy.
Like Prince.
Like, yeah, she just like, she can play everything. Her voice is nuts. The songs are so cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's the real deal, man. Like that was like both really exciting, and it also made me like twice as nervous because I was like,
yeah.
I was like, oh my god, like this is somebody whose opinion I actually like kind of care about. I know you haven't had a chance to watch the episode yet, but when you do, or if you get a chance to watch it, just like
it's a win. We like you.
The feedback that she gave me was just so overwhelmingly positive that it was just like, whoa. Like it was hard to process. Like, and I'm, they cut things out and stuff, but like, and maybe that, they edit things to make me look like as smart as possible. But like, but I remember she was like saying things to me and it was like passing through me. Like, I couldn't even like process it. Because like, I don't know, just like having someone of her ability and like her artistry look at me and be like, I see you and I recognize you as an artist. Like, and what you have, like, she was just saying things like, like, I believe in you, basically. And I was just like, whoa, that's a trip.
Well, my message to her is join the club. You're late to the Axel Mansoor train.
But it was just wild, and honestly, I'm so glad that there were cameras to record it because like I don't have a good memory of what happened.
You just had an out of body experience.
No, it really, it was just like I couldn't process it on time, and I even like made a note to myself like before I went on stage. I was like, savor this moment, like like really be present, really do it. And I feel like I was able to do it for the performance, but I didn't plan to do it like for the feedback part. And so like I was just like, it was like I really did feel like my body was just kind of like I was saying things and reacting, but I wasn't fully there because it was like, I get it felt just kind of like floating in like a dream. So, that was really incredible. And, even though I didn't win the episode, like it did not feel like a loss at all, and they kept saying this throughout the show, which was just like, there are no losers here. Like everyone who's here, like you guys are going to have like, this is the start of something really amazing for all of you. And they kept saying that. And I was like, okay, they're just trying to hype us up. Like they're just trying to like, that it's just like that feel good talk. So
if you had fun, again, you won.
Being a cynic. And I have to say that like, I really felt it that way. And that was the other thing is like, from a songwriter perspective, like being surrounded by songwriters who like, when I heard their stuff, I was like, whoa, I actually really, really like this. Like, this is really dope. And it was just like, wow, I feel like I'm in company that I'm actually proud to be in. I don't feel like, oh yeah, the other writers were kind of whatever, but like, at least I got my shot. Like, it really feels like, holy shit, like I'm in the company of some truly incredible individuals.
But that lifts you up too. It's like you have a seat at the table. Like, it's like, I know we've talked before about sort of how we view ourselves and how, sometimes we try to compare, sometimes we have trouble kind of like staying in that mindset. But I think that there are these little moments of, I've always felt kind of validated by the people who are around me, where it's like, oh, these people are making some incredible music and they think I'm making good music. That must mean we're all in a good place.
Yeah, we're here together. Yeah. We're all, it's a unit. And just, I want to clear this up just quickly because I didn't get to finish this thought. But like, even though I think all of the songs were amazing, I think that Raquel's song was the obvious choice. And like if her song hadn't won, I would be like, I don't understand. Like I would have been happy. If I had been chosen, I would have been happy, but I would still have been like, that doesn't make any sense. Like it should have been her song.
Pull a Kanye, be like, I'm gonna let you finish.
But Raquel had the best song of all time. And so that's the thing, is like, it really didn't, I was honestly so happy for her because it felt like, okay, like it is about the song. Like it's not just talk. And that's the thing, is like, that's why my experience on Songland was just, I went into it being like, I don't trust reality TV. I think reality TV is kind of bullshit. I think it takes advantage of people, and it's a lot of show. It's a lot of talk. They sell you your dream, and then like you get there to find out that it's actually not at all what you thought it was going to be. Like that's a story that's been told about reality TV.
Hollywood, baby.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood story. It's like, that's a very common story, right? And so that was the expectations that I went in with, and I was honestly blown away. Like the way that they treated us was just so real, and like there was no bullshit. Everyone who worked on the show was so happy to be there. Just the general energy from like the participants to the producers to the directors to like just the crew helping around, like everyone was just stoked. They just wanted to be there, and it was such a positive, like supportive environment that, yeah, like it really made me believe that I feel like if Songland continues to play their cards right in terms of like really respecting the people that make the show, which includes like all the people in terms of the filming aspect, but also the songwriters. If it really continues along this path, I see it as being this really building a community, like a community of songwriters.
Well, I saw that last year. I mean, all the people who were on the show wound up writing together and doing sessions together and being friends. And it was interesting, you know, like we knew people from different places in our LA and Berkeley life who I don't think I could have drawn a clear line between the two, but all of a sudden now here they are together. Now they're on this show. And it was cool to just sort of see this community form around the people that were on this season. So I want to go back in time. I want to go back before Songland, before before everything. I want to go back to young Axel. I want to know why you got into this music thing, because you know, I've actually, one of the things that I think I've always been not just like impressed about with you, but also just like, you know, the little pangs of jealousy that come, is that you have one of the most incredible, like pure male voices I've ever heard. Like you sing things just so nicely. I remember, and we'll get to this too, but I remember the first time we hung out, you sang a Jack Johnson song, and I like melted. Like I was like, what the fuck? This guy sings so well. So did you always know you were incredible at singing, or did you
No, I didn't. I mean, I sort of, a big piece of my story, which has also been a big chip on my shoulder for a long time, has just been me like consistently undervaluing myself. And I think that definitely is rooted in my past. So growing up, like I knew that I liked singing because I would sing along and harmonize to songs, you know, while I was playing like Quake 3. Like, you know, as like
Throwback.
a 8-year-old, like listening to Winamp, you know, like Offspring on the Winamp. And I would harmonize with the songs, but like no one in my family was ever like, hey, you got like a thing, and you know, you should sing more. The only sort of real musical reinforcement that came was actually through my older brother, Misha, and he got me into guitar, but he was into really like harder, heavier styles of music. And I think he just like didn't think I had a good voice because it didn't sound like that style. And to me, he was 8 years older than me. So like his opinion was not an opinion, it was fact. And so because he didn't think I had a great voice, like I was just like, I don't have a good voice. And it was really only maybe around like 16, I joined choir at the behest of my sister, and she was like, yeah, you should try joining high school choir. And I think my sister maybe was like trying to be supportive, but I didn't realize it. And she was like, you know, like join choir, because I did choir and I think you'll really enjoy it. And, you know, by that time I'd already been playing guitar for like 3-4 years. So it was clear that I liked music. And it was in choir that I started to have a sense of the fact that like I was probably a better singer than most of the other people around me. I wasn't the best by a long shot. Like there were some people in that choir that could sing, and you know, but it was like I could hold my own. Like I was like pretty quick to like get a melody, and like I had a good memory for melody, and some people would even be like, oh, you have a kind of a nice voice. But I wasn't like one of those kids that, you know, your parents taking videos of you singing when you're like 8 and like, you're going to be a star someday.
I've always been kind of jealous of those kids. Like my dad kind of point blank, and my friends pretty point blank, when I first started singing, were like,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Like you're better at the piano.
Yes.
Like your voice sounds nasally. You can't hold a pitch. Like you're not good at this, and you want to do this. But the piano's good and your songs are good. Like stick with that stuff. And I'm like, but I want to sing the songs.
One time my mom said I sounded like a dying cat.
My dad said I sound like a dying cat.
That's the classic go-to.
Our parents were ruthless, you know, jokes on them. Now we sound the same, but we have processing.
Well, yeah, no, I mean like and you know, I honestly want to say like good for both of you that you kept on singing, because I think that's such a huge part of finding, and this can not pun intended, like finding your voice as an artist.
Yeah.
Is what are you gonna do even if nobody else likes it?
Well, I think at a certain point it like hit me that nobody's gonna be able to sing some of these songs with like the emotion that I bring to it, because these songs come from a real place. And it kind of just hit that, fine, if that means that it's going to be a worse, quote unquote, worse version of the song, I'd rather a real version of the song with maybe a lower quality voice than somebody else trying to echoing my words. Obviously now as a songwriter, I have a different philosophy, but I'm I'm happy with how it initially, sparked kind of that thing. But I think what's interesting is that because throughout like our friendship, we've had conversations about confidence, about self-worth and stuff like that. And you've brought up your brother before. But what's funny is that like I didn't know who Misha was, and I didn't know Periphery. Like I didn't know the band at all.
Right.
I just knew you. And then when we had a very limited number of like guitar friends at Berkeley. Like you know the type I'm talking about. Like there are guitar players, but we have plenty of those. But like
there are guitar
players. And when we started doing stuff with you, they recognized the last name, and they're like, "Oh, dude!" Like I'm like, "No, I don't. I think it's just a coincidence." Then I like hit you up, and you're like, "No, that's my brother." I'm like, "Oh, different music."
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just confess. Different. I was like a huge Periphery fan. There was like a
so was I, man.
A solid period back in my like metal phase when the whole sort of wave of gent started, that I was like super into that band.
Oh man, me too. I mean, I was the first Periphery fan.
Did you know?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I totally did.
Because I did not. I didn't know. I didn't know shit. We knew a publicist and a writer named Ruth. Shout out Ruth.
Oh yeah. Yo. Massive shout out to Ruth.
Yeah.
Ruth in legend. Like the 2015 to 2017 space. She's still crushing it, but in that space.
Yeah, I know, but that was like, man, Ruth was killing it. And she was everywhere. She was everywhere.
East Coast, West Coast, she was on it. She was finding bands all over the place. Bands in colleges, bands in whatever. Like she was just, she had her finger on the pulse. She
really did.
There was just so much that she like had a hand in, and so much of what I knew about like LA artists came from what she would talk about and post about. But she was friends with your manager at the time, Mike Ducey, and Mike was looking for people to get like notes on your first ever single, "Wasted My Love." So I remember Ruth sending it to me. I was like in my mom's apartment in New York. I like gave some notes on the song, but was just like absolutely blown away. I think my like major note that never saw the light of day was that the intro was really long, but I think I was ahead of my time.
It was. I was trying to be all like experimental and cinematic. I was like, I want it to feel like you're leaving the fight. Like.
Listen, I love it. Now I crave long intros.
I feel like we're coming back around to it.
You never know what you got till it's gone.
Right.
But that's the thing.
Swings.
I was so floored by that song, as was everybody who heard it when it came out, that I got like Mike's number from Ruth. And was like, "Hey, I don't know what your plans are, but if you are going to have remixers on this, we're doing it. Like, he's like, I don't know yet. Like, we're still figuring out." I'm like, "Mike, I know we've just met, but please, his voice is amazing. The song is amazing. Let us remix it."
I have to say honestly that like I still love that remix. I still think that the Sleeping Lion remix is so good, and to me is criminally underplayed.
I agree. I think there's some crazy shit going on in that song.
There's some crazy shit going on in that song. The production is fire. Noah.
Thank you.
Well, that's the thing here. Noah did that remix. Like the I would say 90% of it happened in like a binge.
Oh,
and I was in Philly at the time, so I like usually when we do remixes, we break the song in the beginning, we figure out what makes sense for it. Noah does a pass, we come in, we do notes. But this was like,
oh yeah, that was just like pure manic,
like a fever dream.
Spent like I woke up and I was like, wait, what is this sitting on my computer?
I was in Philly with my best friends and we were all plastered. And my friends saw like me go into the corner to listen to what Noah sent me. And he's like, no, like play on the speaker. So I played it and everybody lost their shit. Like it was just one of those.
Dude, it's so good. Like it's still, honestly, like it surprises me how good it is. And then it makes me be like, oh yeah, just because something is good doesn't mean it'll get a lot of plays.
That's very true. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it's very true.
It upsets me because I'm like, it deserves more attention than it got.
Well, again, credit where it's due. You know, Dulce's remix, I think, as a remix made more sense. Like that was still around the time when
I'm terrible at doing remixes that make sense. Like remixes that function. Like remixes are supposed to be like, let's take this song and make it a little dancier. Like I'm just like, what if it was a crazy jazz apocalypse?
Well, most remixers, like capital R remixers, like have experience with pop remixing, which is, you know, you take this song, you throw the 4 on the floor, you bump up the tempo a little bit, you make
throw a little vocal
you
chop
throw a little
in there.
vocal chop in there, you
Just
make it
dancier.
Yeah, make a dancier thing. Our remix language and like education came from listening.
It's like a reinterpretation
because we learned from listening to Lido.
Yeah,
and Lido didn't do pop remixes. He would just fucking flip the song. He would write his own verses. He would throw some weird fucking shit in there. Like he would do really cool remixes that I think resonated with people who liked these songs but wanted a little bit more complexity and a little bit more like strangeness.
Yeah, there's a real musicality to it.
It was also one of those things that the production on the original was just so like Waste of My Love is just such a sick record. And it's like one of those things that when I heard it, it was like, oh, that's like the kind of music that I kind of want to be making. So when I had to like remix it, I'm like, oh, I have to go in a completely different direction because my instincts will probably just take me into a universe that sounds just like the original.
But I find that instinct to like take it in a different direction very, like, I admire that a lot. I mean, or at least like I would do the same thing. I would want to hear, and to be honest, like that's why when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing because it was that. It wasn't just like a song that I had already spent way too fucking long with, like, and just like slightly different, you know, but easier to dance to. It was like a real reinterpretation. And that why for me, I remember getting the file and like listening to it being like, holy shit, like what, this is wild, like I'm so into this.
Well, all this to say is that like when we first like Skyped with you, and I remember
stream the song right now.
Hey, everybody stream the Sleeping Lion remix, you know,
throwback to 2017.
Well,
throwback.
The thing, like all of this to say that like when we first Skyped with you, like that was a big night for us. I mean, you know, like Noah made that Twitter banner about, you know, drinking buddies, but I think also just we really were in awe of this rising sort of down tempo, vibey, songwriter-y pop music that was coming out. Because keep in mind, like around 2016, 2015, 2016, that sort of Billie Eilish wave wasn't necessarily happening yet, and so it was a lot of like you and Opia and RKCB. There were people who were making this really cool music that we had sort of stumbled into, and so. For all the sort of talks of confidence and like where we sit, like know that when we first met you, we were like nervous. Like we were genuinely like kind of floored by what you were doing, you know, with your stuff.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Well, we were grateful for the chance to participate. I think also one of my like fondest memories with you was like just the first day we met in New York, like in person.
That was awesome. That was so fun.
Yeah, we were having beers. You were wearing your jacket, the iconic Axel Mansoor jacket.
Oh, by the way, you don't know this yet because you haven't watched the episode, but I got to wear the jacket on TV.
Oh shit. That's awesome. I love that.
And that the crazy part about that is we had to choose like 5 different looks, and so there was a chance that it was not going to be chosen as, because you do 5 looks with wardrobe, and then they choose 2 of them, and so basically it had a 1 in 5 chance of being, or I guess a 2 in 5 chance of being chosen, and I don't know, it felt very poetic that like not only did it end up being chosen, but it ended up being for the final performance.
I love that.
So it's like I had to earn my way to perform with the jacket on. So now everyone else is going to know about the jacket.
Well, keep in mind too, the first time anybody like quote unquote saw you, including us, it was the cover art for Wasted My Love, which was a drawing somewhat similar to the Talking Lion stuff. Now that I think about it, you without a face,
silhouette,
silhouette. You without a face, just wearing this multicolored,
Back
Joseph Technicolor Dreamcoat, jacket. So seeing you in New York with the jacket was cool. But I just remember like singing songs, like you played Jack Johnson that night and just jamming out and like having a really fun time. I just remember those little moments of, because there were these series of little moments where we realized, okay, this is gonna be okay. We're gonna move and it's gonna be okay. And like New York, hanging with you for the first time was definitely one of those.
Yeah, man. It's so funny. I don't revisit these memories a lot. I don't know why. I tend to be more. If anything, I tend to be future leaning, but I try to like hang out in the present. But going back to those, those memories is actually really nice.
Oh, I'm a big time traveler, man. That's like my biggest source of just like comfort is just going back and being like, oh, some really nice things happened in this life,
Yeah. No, it's true, man.
I want to make you time travel again though, because I want to know, and I'm gonna sort of like buzz through a series of songs of yours, and I just want to know little tidbits, anecdotes about what inspired the songs and maybe like a memory around the song. So starting with Wasted My Love, like what inspired that? Like what do you remember about creating that song?
Oh man. So funnily enough, that song was like Frankensteined together over like a period of probably 2 or 3 years. I remember 2 sort of distinct moments. And here's actually something that people do not know. But shout out to my boy. I cleared this with him before the song came out and everything. And like I asked him if he wanted to be credited. He said no. But actually, the lyrics in the hook of Wasted My Love are adapted from a piece of poetry that a friend gave me.
Oh, wow.
His name is Vance Lovett. And he was a buddy I was with at USC. We were in the same a cappella group. And he was like, I have these like lyrics and stuff, but I'm never going to do anything with them. So like, if you want, like, I'll just send you a bunch of random stuff and you can just kind of look through it and see if anything inspires you. And so I was just looking through it and I found this line. It was like, so pick up your things. I'll give you one more thing to think about.
So pick up your things. I'll give you one more thing to think about. Leave me empty with arms wide open and I don't know how you wasted my love. Wasted my love. You wasted my love.
And I was just like, that's a really cool, and like there was so much else in the song that like I didn't use, but there was something about that line that I was just like, wow, it's really powerful.
It's got that driving rhythm.
Yeah, it's a very rhythmic sentence. Like I can imagine just seeing it on the page and like.
Well, I'm hearing it in the song too. It's already there,
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is so funnily enough, when I wish I could find this old voice memo, but I remember just like strumming some chords and finding the rhythm because it was actually like written in a way where it wasn't all strung together like that. And it was actually like this very segmented, separate sort of thing where like some sort of like quick, fast rhythm was not the way that I would have read it. And it happened because I was just strumming these chords and I kind of just started singing like that rhythm, but like I remember making a voice memo of it and being like, that kind of sucks. And like being like, just like totally denouncing it and being like, it's kind of a bad idea. I whatever. And I remember recording it and just putting it away and being like, I'm not going to do anything with that. And then one other time I was jamming with a friend and I was just like, and that came back to me and I just started singing it and he was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's this thing that I started writing, but I never finished because I don't know. I just didn't think it was any good. And he was like, that's really cool. And I was like, really? Like I had like when I heard it and I remember writing the rhythm, I was just like, it seems so basic. I was just like, it's so boring. What am I going to do with that? And then the second thing that happened was I was in the middle of like band rehearsal when I had this project called AMJ. And it was like, because it was Axel, Miller, Justin. It was like a 3-piece. It was the 3 of us. We were taking a break in the middle of rehearsal. So they like went to go get some burritos. And I was just by myself and I was kind of high. And I just started like just making up a riff, like, and it was just kind of groovy and funky, and I was like, oh, this is kind of sick. Like, there's these weird chords, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I had this moment of synergy where I like placed the lyrics of "Wasted My Love" over that riff, and I was just like, holy,
there it is.
It's just like, oh, I made a thing.
I think every songwriter listening has had that moment where like their song has kind of like cannibalized in that way, where it's like you can't give up this thing that you've like held on to for a while, but they never had a home, and then all of a sudden it's the missing piece of the other thing that you're working on. Those are the moments. Those are so exciting when those happen, you know, because it really feels like magic. It feels like an accident that you got to witness, that you got to be a part of, but like I didn't manifest that on my own, you know, like I happened to be in the right time at the right place, and like that. I mean sorry, that was quite a trip. I don't think I've actually spoken about that in terms of Wasted My Love, like ever. That's what I was gonna tone it down and be like, that's what we're here for. But yeah, that's why we fucking rake it in. Podcast. We make good.
No, it's great. It's great. I love it. And a great question.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. For those listening, we don't make any money from the podcast, so please donate to our Patreon.
Dude, go to the Patreon.
Live now.
I told this to Nate. I was like, because once you brought in the community funding angle, I was like, yo, that's like something that I would donate to, and I'm very heavily considering donating. Again, I think it's a way to put your money where your mouth is. Like, and that I support.
By and large, we want to have Talking Lion be about the community, and having that, like having the ability to sponsor events or like fund projects and just be just a support to the people who have been so supportive to us. A lot of that comes because, you know, when we came out here, there was community, and I think we just want to be a positive force in that. And I'm coming around to saying that was inspired by you and the people we met around you. So, you know, that's just how it's gonna go down.
Just coming from somebody, you know, I moved 7 times growing up around the world, and like finding community and staying in a community has actually been something that's been very hard for me, both consciously and unconsciously. And I think that, you know, to anybody who's a songwriter or you know, either you're in LA or maybe you're considering moving to LA, I will say that I think the number one thing is finding a community of people that care about you and you care about. And if you want to talk about like, how do you find success? I would go so far as to say right now that like success doesn't matter if you have a community, because it'll flip the way you think about success. Like, success will not be about the things that you have achieved, but rather what you have been able to share with your community.
Well, I've always said the tide rises every ship, and if you think it's a zero-sum game, you're not adding enough. Like, I'm a big believer in like there is just so much that we can do for each other that will ultimately benefit the entirety of the space that you exist in.
Totally.
Like, we get to just grow together and rise together because we're making these webs. We're making these like pieces of connection that that feels really special to me.
It is, man.
But now I want you to talk to me about Talk to Me.
Oh man.
How's that for a segue?
What do you want to know? What
I love that song.
Just anything you want me to rant about it?
Just rant about it. You know, like that song has hit me in like 8 different ways. The music video involves like this long distance friendship, but also kind of this relationship in that space. And I think that resonated when I was doing like the long distance stuff. So that song recently has like hit me in a really personal way. But how did that song come to be? And then tell me about the Snapchat video, this famous Snapchat video you made for Talk to Me.
Just a quick note about that. It's funny actually. Brian today was like, we should re-release the Talk to Me video, but like only the indoor scenes for coronavirus.
That's funny.
And I was like, that's kind of brilliant, actually.
Or what if you do a sequel? for whatever
like
your next
sequel,
song is.
right? I mean, that's an idea for sure. I'm always kind of like remiss to do sequels just because I feel like very often they're just not as good as the original.
Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back.
Got him.
Empire Strikes Back. That's true.
I can't think of any other examples, but Empire Strikes Back.
Got him. Transformers
but-
2.
Clearly the better one. So talk to me, man. You know, there's so much to say about that song. I wrote that song initially with Paul. Paul and I wrote it in a session. You know, we just started writing something, and it became very apparent to me, like pretty quick into the session, that like it had this sort of like sensual kind of vibe to it, and I wanted to really explore that side of myself as an artist, because it's something that previously I had really shied away from. And I think as an artist in general, like finding a way for me to bring like sensuality and sexuality that isn't like cute, but is actually kind of visceral, is something that I've been really intrigued with, because it's a part of myself I haven't really explored that much. And that song was kind of the beginning of that. It was the first song where I was like, I want to feel sexy writing this song, and I want to make anybody who listens to the song kind of feel sexy too. That is why it became such a song about, like, you know, the whole thing, like Talk to Me is like, it's both this thing about like, it's this double entendre, obviously, where it's like, I want you to talk to me, like I want to be close to you, I want to hear what you have to say, but it's also like, I want to like be physical. Like I want to be physically close to you. Come talk to me.
Come on, talk to me. Come on, talk to me. Come on, talk to me. Come on, talk to me.
Well, there's this earnestness to the song. It's like, especially like as your voice climbs on the actual like hook line, there's something about it that you get that feeling of somebody who wants to say so much and wants to make a move and wants to sort of put themselves out there, but hasn't yet. You know?
Yeah, it's a song. It's a song about desire. You know,
you feel it,
and
though it's like earnest.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, and it was very real for me when I was writing it, and that song ended up inspiring this like really. I still feel so good about that music video.
I think
it's probably the only music video that I've ever done where I was just like, this is a cool idea that I don't think I've seen somebody else do. And that's something that I've always kind of tried to strive for whenever I do something sort of like a creative project. Like I always want to, I find a lot of like excitement from like pushing boundaries and like trying new things and like finding ways to do experimental things, but that the public could appreciate, and writing that line. The video is just this like, I mean, it was a concept video. It was just like, what if we made a video that was like a story told entirely through Snapchats? And like,
was that Mike somewhat influenced because he worked there, or was it like?
I think like the original idea actually came between me and Zach Bell.
Oh, cool! Shout out Zach Bell.
And it wasn't originally Snapchats. It was just over FaceTime. Like we were like, what if you told an entire story through? Oh no, I remember the moment of Genesis. Actually, we had been talking about making a video for Talk to Me, and I remember getting a Snapchat from a buddy of mine, and he was mouthing the words to one of my songs, and I was like. There was something about the way that he did it that I was like, this could be a whole video. And then I took it to Zach and I was like, what if we just did an entire, like a collection of different friends, like just singing the words of the song, like lip syncing it, but like through Snapchat. And then like, we kind of like, you know, pieced it together. And Zach with his like fucking amazing creative mind was just like, well, hold on. What if we make it a narrative? And I was like, what? I don't know. Like, shout out to Zach Bell, one of the realest dudes in the game. Like if you need a creative director, go work with Zach Bell. If you can, he kind of stopped doing music projects because he's got so much other stuff going on, but like he's the real deal as well. Like just so thoughtful, but also so dedicated to like his work and his art, and also a nice person. And again, he's just a creative genius. So I love working with him, and he and I really took that idea, like he took that little idea that I had and really turned it into the, the music video.
Well, it resonates because there's almost this like this palpable like honesty to it, or just this like it feels very candid, even though obviously it's like,
well, there are still people who think that Emily is my girlfriend. Like they think that like and so Emily is the other girl in the video, and what was so great is that like, it actually was shot across the country. Like she was just down to shoot it, and so I shot in LA, like we shot my little phone scenes in LA, and she shot her little selfie scenes in New York City. That's why it does feel real, because it was real. At the same time, it was this constructed thing.
You guys are both so funny in it, like so sort of like personable in it, and you just can't help but like root for it, which is why the ending is just sort of like, it's really just like a small friend making a move, being like, hey, can we be more than friends, even though it's sort of a distance thing? And she's like, nope. And even though that's like a very sort of subtle thing, I think it really does hit home because there's so much cool chemistry between the two of you in the video, but also you guys are both just really funny and good looking, and that's just how it goes. Like you just wind up connecting with you both and just wanting it to happen. But also just like, as dear friends, we know that you've been in a for 8 years in a relationship for
going into the 9th year.
Oh my God. Yeah. So part of my brain was just like rooting for them. Part of me was just like, oh yeah, this is not real.
It's Hollywood.
Hollywood and Brooklyn, the Big Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, that video was a lot of fun to make, and I'm still really proud of it. Maybe it'll have a resurgence in some way someday.
You have all these videos and you have all these songs that like I can go through. I mean, Father Time, like I cried the first time I heard it. Like a more recent song that really like hit was Busy. Just because we've all felt that, and actually you and I were talking last week just about how we as friends kind of drifted a little bit because we've both been just fucking doing our thing and
so busy.
And it's crazy that like, I think especially since the quarantine, I've realized how many people, it's been just so long since I've actually had a chance
I've gotten
to speak
busier
to them.
During the quarantine.
Well, just reconnecting with people. I feel like I'm actually reconnecting with people who I didn't realize I'd lost touch with.
Oh yeah. That's so real. I mean, I've had more time. I've made more time for FaceTiming people now than I have in like the last 2 months.
I feel very similarly. What inspired Busy and what inspired The Other Side? Because I feel like those two came out around the same time.
Other Side. I'll start with Other Side just chronologically. So Other Side came about from me actually going through this like 2.5 month like just like bout of depression and writer's block, and I think one definitely led to the other. Or, nature versus nurture. They definitely fed off of each other. But like I like couldn't write anything. And I was just so sad, and so much of my value was tied up in like whether or not I was making music and whether or not I was writing songs. I was in this place where I was like, if I'm not writing a great song, then I am a shit human being. I'm like, what is even my place in this world? And I tried doing all these things. I tried meditating, and I tried like, journaling, and I tried doing all this kind of stuff like that had helped me in the past to like pull me out of this depression, and just nothing worked. And it was like I was trying, and that's where this sort of like this, I have this concept of just like, it's like emotional quicksand. It's like the harder you fight it, the faster and deeper it pulls you in.
Oh yeah.
And what ended up happening was for my sanity, I ended up going out to Joshua Tree by myself for like 2 days. I just found like a cheap little, not even Airstream, like half the size of an Airstream, just like a tiny little like trailer. It was like really cheap. It was like it was probably like $30 a night or something. And like, it was on this little campground. And I just went and I took nothing but like a journal, a guitar, and a joint. And
the essentials.
And
a balanced breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. And I just went out there and I did something for myself that I hadn't done in a very long time, which was just I only engaged in creative play. I didn't make myself or even allow myself the possibility of like creating for the sake of productivity. And that was that was a really healing experience for me, such so that like I came back and I had a session scheduled and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a session because I've been like so depressed and I haven't been that great at writing. But I came back from Joshua Tree and like pretty immediately went into a session and like Other Side just came out. And I think like it was about my experience of like dealing with depression, trying to remedy myself of it, going to Joshua Tree, learning that like there was nothing I could really do other than just like be in it and like try to, instead of trying to pull myself out of it, just trying to learn how to sit in it and still try to find some sort of way to play and some sort of way to be with myself. And Other Side just very naturally came out of that. And I mean, the song was written, that day in that session. All of my songs are pretty close to my heart because they come from these very like vulnerable experiences in these vulnerable places. But I think that one, especially just the way it kind of turned out, I think like I still really connect to it when I hear it, and even when I play it, it's like, oh, this is real.
Was there a line that cracked it for you?
Yeah. I mean, the chorus, like, wake up and I'm on the wrong track. I was meant for the other side.
Wake up and I'm on the wrong track. I was meant for the other side.
And it was just like this cyclical sort of feeling of like constantly being like, why am I not out of this? Why am I not somewhere else? And the song it's funny because it's not necessarily a hopeful song, or it doesn't sound necessarily hopeful, because the lyrics are about me struggling. Like it's about me feeling like I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
But we write it to excise it. Like we have a song that just came out called "Don't Like Me."
Right.
It it's a sad song. There is no resolution to it. But I've always felt that if you put those out, it's sort of you telling the world like I felt it, I presenced it, I made something of it, and that's my way of kind of getting it out.
Right.
And
you don't always have to tie it up with some little, but everything's okay in the end. Like
no, the everything is okay is.
It's
the fact that you did it.
Stream our latest single.
Yeah.
That's the conclusion.
Yeah.
I made
that's
art
real.
out of this pain. That's the conclusion. You don't have to say it in the art.
You get to make the happy ending for us by listening to it.
Yeah. No. No, but I actually really appreciate you saying that, because it's like an instinct that I had for a long time where I was like, or not even an instinct, like an expectation that I'd created for myself was I was like, if I'm going to write a song, because I want to make songs that heal people, I want my art to help. Like I want my art to be a force for good in the world. And I thought that meant that all my songs had to, like, if they didn't start positive, had to at least end positively. And I've realized that that's not the case. It doesn't have to resolve in order for it to produce a feeling of like healing.
I feel like as a whole, like my ethos for songs has always been they exist and we make them so that whoever is listening is not feeling alone wherever they are. So we write happy songs so that people who are celebrating and dancing at a club and driving down the highway in a great mood don't feel alone with that. They get to amplify it and sort of be like presence that in a meaningful way. But also we write sad songs so that people who are going through that feeling know that other people have felt it too. And that they get to sort of, and sometimes that also amplifies that sadness, but at the same time being able to really feel it and presence it and know you're not alone with it, and feel it as strongly as you can, I think is a very powerful way to kind of exposure therapy it, like really just get through it by going through it, Right. And I've always felt the value of sad songs. Just and even if they make me sadder, it makes me sadder knowing that there are people who have felt what I've felt.
Right. You don't feel alone.
Yeah, and we get to just be sad together for a second. Me and whoever's in my ears.
Yeah. No, it's real, man. And it's weird because like that is going to be more healing. Listening to a sad song while you're sad is probably going to feel more cathartic than trying to listen to a happy song when you're sad.
Right.
Yeah.
If anything, a happy song when you're sad feels like somebody's like telling jokes at a funeral.
That feels like a dig.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes happy songs when you're sad feel like a dig at you.
It does.
I take it personally.
Yeah. And you should. That's so real. I remember like the role of a sad song.
I feel like music has always been kind of like my litmus test for like where I'm at in a breakup. because like in the week or 2 weeks following,
Just put on Tame Impala Currents and see which song hits you the most.
well, it's in the week or 2 weeks following a breakup that I actually just can't listen to music at all, because happy songs feel like a dig and sad songs just remind me of too much. Like it becomes like just too sort of unbearably depressing to listen to. But after you get out of like the shock and awe depression, and then you're sort of in this like the brooding kind of like achy sadness, then the sad songs start feeling like better. Then you're like, oh, like I feel that kind of heartache that you're singing about. I feel you. Okay, cool. Like I'm not alone in this feeling. And then when I like get to the point of, am I ready to try love again? You know, that's when like, you know, I'm listening to like Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows.
Start listening to Motown.
Yeah.
It's actually exclusively Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows. For some reason, that song, Noah can vouch for it. That song
I can
is,
vouch specifically that is your falling back in
It is
love
that
song.
that's how you know that
I'm gonna
I've come out
admit,
the other side.
I'm gonna cue that up because I actually don't know that song. What is it called?
Accidentally in Love by Counting
Didn't
Crows.
you see Shrek?
Shrek 2? Oh,
2?
sequel that's better than the original. Shrek 2.
2. That's added to the list.
Is Shrek 2 better?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
I think it's better because you get much more in depth on like the kind of relationship between Shrek and Fiona. You don't have all of that sort of terrible character
All the
becoming.
exposition.
Well, you don't have like the terrible character becoming a good character like you do at the beginning. Like, you know, Shrek is a recluse and then becomes like a decent person at the end. This is like you have a decent person who has to like deal with the fact that he's kind of looked down on by people, and also just like really wants to be somebody else for the person he's in love with, and the person that he is in love with does like wants him to just be himself because he helped her be herself. And so that's what I think, why I think Shrek 2 is better. Plus it starts with Accidentally in Love, and it features 9 Crimes by Damien Rice in like the low point of the thing. So the
No
music
way.
supervision on
The
Shrek
music
was
supervision on Shrek
nuts.
2 was
not to
nuts.
mention the introduction of Puss in Boots, which we all know
We
that
love
was
Puss in
a
Boots.
massive character in the zeitgeist of the
That's true.
Fairy
DreamWorks,
Godmother.
Fairy Godmother,
That was like-
Prince Charming.
Yeah, Prince Charming. They had the whole like I Need a Hero sequence.
Oh,
with the,
yeah.
like, that whole like the last act of that
wow.
movie is just a wild ride.
I need to.
Donkey's relationship with the dragon
Yeah, that shit's
developing.
great.
You know what? I'm becoming convinced that I've been wasting time not watching Shrek 2.
I think
And
you've been wasting time not watching Shrek 2.
It is currently a Friday.
It's
Yeah.
Friday, my guy. Let's watch
Do
Shrek
it.
2.
Do it. Watch
It
Shrek 2.
seems
That's what I
like-
always say
wow.
every Friday.
I say-
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
It's Shrek
Shalom.
time.
Let's watch Shrek 2.
Did you write Busy and Joshua Tree as well? I always bring it
Sick.
back, man. You know.
Honestly, it was a beautiful segue. Thank you. Busy came out of an intense Shrek marathon.
You were too busy for everybody in your life
I
because
was
you were
too
just
busy.
on Shrek marathon after
And
marathon.
I forgot how important Shrek really was to me.
I don't want you to like relapse. I don't want you to get back to wherever you were in that time. It sounds like a dark time.
No. You know, it's important. It's important to talk about.
You gotta watch Shrek.
So Busy. So I'm actually excited to talk about Busy also because it's a great segue into something else I want to chat about.
Hey.
But
Only I'm allowed segues, buddy.
that's true. I'd like to put in a request for a topic change eventually.
Motion granted.
Thank you. That was me gaveling
That's a good gavel.
without a gavel. Maybe you can like
Give
put
this
that
man a
sound
gavel.
effect in. Yeah, no, just splice it in. Busy came about actually through a couple different sessions. That one was an interesting one because it did not end with the same people it started with. And it actually, that song, it was sort of like a song that I started in one session, but the session kind of didn't go anywhere. And the part that I took from the session was not even like, it was like what had been the verse in that session. And like nothing ever happened with that song. And then I ended up kind of rewriting it as like a hook. Cause I was like, I think that part's really cool. And I think it has like a place in something. So
I've been way too busy, so concerned with things that might be that I somehow keep forgetting. Look around at what's in front of me.
like that used to be the beginning of this song that never was finished and whatever fell apart. And then I ended up taking that. I wrote like a demo basically with that. And then I ended up going to Josh Jacobson's house.
Ooh, shout out Josh.
I was showing Josh a bunch of different stuff. And then I showed him that. And he was like, that's really cool. I like that. And we started doing it. And we really kind of made this vibe together. And then I had met Kobe Berman. Oh, do you know Kobe?
Yeah. So we, when we first moved out here, we were friendly with a composer named John Ehrlich who did like the music for House MD, and has done music for like Goliath and stuff. And his daughter was in a dance class with this girl who he said was just like had an incredible voice with
Ashlyn.
With Ashlyn Malia.
No way.
So we hit her up. We were like, hey, I think she was like 16 at the time or something. We were like, hey,
Ashlyn's voice is crazy.
She's crazy. She's so good. And we
She's
were like,
really good.
We were essentially like, hey, like I know, we're strangers, but we're friends of John's, but like your voice is amazing. We would love to write with you. So we actually did like her first songwriting sessions ever. And we did.
No way.
We did a couple songs together, and then we were writing, but it wasn't necessarily in like I think the style that she was resonating with. And also Noah and I got it related to the song.
Busy.
Got very busy. way too busy. And so she found Kobe and Andrew, and they've just been like off to the races. Like they've been doing like all their stuff. But that's the thing. Like I catch up with Ashlyn maybe once a month or once every 2 months.
That's
just to
so
see
funny. I had no idea you knew her.
Yeah, how she's doing, and we might even put out one of the songs we did together.
Awesome.
We met Kobe and Drew at Ashlyn's birthday party.
Yeah.
No
and
way.
we went to our Instagram
That's
mutuals,
so
and they're like, you know Axel? It's like, yeah, of course we know Axel. He's our guy.
That's so funny, man.
So it was just one of those like small world things. But yeah, we've never worked with Kobe or Andrew, but like they have a lot of respect from us because they have dedicated so much of their like life now to her project. My heart breaks like a little bit because like I wish that we could have done that, but the timing wasn't right, and we were, things were really chaotic on our end. But I'm just so happy that if not us, like them, like they've just done a really incredible job with her.
I mean, Ashlyn's voice is insane. The production's insane. Like it's
Ashlyn Malia. Everybody look up. She's incredible, but also like. Not only does she have like one of the most incredible voices ever and is like an insane writer despite being 18.
Yeah, man.
She's also like the craziest dancer ever. Yeah. Like I don't know.
She's like insanely talented.
She's insanely talented. She plays everything. She's got perfect pitch, but she is an incredible dancer. Like beyond anything I've ever seen. Like I think she teaches choreography. Like she's just insanely talented. I always
she's a star for sure.
Even just like every time she puts out something or every time we talk, I always just think to myself like, oh man, I wish I started doing all of this stuff earlier, and B, I need to be doing like 8 more things. Yeah. But okay, Kobe, you wrote.
That's what it feels like though, but it's like it's so hard when you get into that comparison game because everyone's got their own thing, There's always going to be somebody who's more talented than you, or feels like they are more talented than you. There's always going to be someone who's better than you at singing and better than you at dancing or better than you or better looking than you. Like there's so many people in this world that there will always, if you get into the comparison game, you will lose. The only thing that I can try to do is flip that game on its head and say, instead of me comparing myself, and the reason I say this is not because like I've figured it out, it's because like I've had to go through the ringer of like waking up, checking Instagram, comparing myself, feeling like shit, like, and being like, why do I do this to myself all the time? And like having to really like find a new way to engage with like people who I think are really talented. And instead of it being this like threat, or instead of it being this like, why can't I do what you do? It's like learning how to just be like, wow, I'm so glad that you are in this world because I can't do that.
Now I feel like I get more inspired by that stuff than get like prickly about it. But Noah can vouch. Back when we first started, back when we were in Boston, I was constantly on Spotify. You could like compare your stats to other artists. I was constantly doing that, and it brought me nothing but pain. But I was doing it daily. And I remember somebody said to me, I don't know if it was my dad or somebody, but
they should have just called it the pain function.
It was just the pain. But I forgot who said it. Somebody said, you'll be able to go faster when you're looking at your own road. And like that was
Oh, that's
fucking huge for me, because I realized that like I was on the one hand trying to drive this car, but my eyes were constantly looking at everybody else's cars, you know, and you know, everybody else's lanes.
That's how you crash a car.
That's how you crash a car. You know, like you can go 100 miles down, you know, 100 miles an hour down a street if you are just looking directly ahead of you, but you'll swerve off really quickly if you're looking at somebody else. Also, when I moved here, John Ehrlich, the guy who introduced me to Ashland, I told him about all my sort of panics and fears about everything. And he said, what you need to focus on every day is laying one brick, like laying your brick. Don't look at everybody else's houses. Don't look at everybody's. Eventually, you'll have your own house, you know, literally and metaphorically, or it'll be a tower, literally or metaphorically. But like, don't look at everybody else's houses. Just focus on your brick. And if you can say you laid a brick that day, you have succeeded for what you have given yourself. And I'm like, those two things I think kept me from like freaking out about like comparatives, but also being 24, I'm just past the age of like being the quote unquote young kid that I was in this thing. You know, like
You're an old man now.
We started somewhat young in this too. Like we started when we were 18 or 19 or whatever. So it's just now at the point where there are kids younger than us doing this, and I'm like feeling like older for the first time.
What's TikTok?
Right. What's a TikTok?
That's how I feel.
How do you
What's a TikTok?
What's a TikTok?
Isn't that the sound a clock makes? I don't understand.
I'm a grandfather now.
We've gravitated away from busy, but speaking of time, and here's my segue. Father Time really hit me. I think Father Time, whenever anybody hears it live, it just hits. You know, I think everybody feels it. Instead of talking about how that song came to be, because I feel like, you know, I can imagine you already like with your acoustic guitar playing it, like playing those riffs and that feeling and that sentiment being prevalent. Instead, I want to ask, is there a time you've recently felt that song viscerally, like the message of that song, which is just wishing that you could like slow down a moment for a second?
Well, if I could find Father Time, I would try to get him drunk on wine and stumble around, maybe slow things down. Yeah, if I could find Father Time, I would try to keep him off his flight, stuck on the ground, maybe slow things down.
Yeah. You know, I one of the things is that when you play a song so much, I'm definitely guilty of this, is like, you know, sometimes it's just you go into autopilot and you're playing the song and you know how to put enough emotion into it that it seems like a genuine performance, but at the same time, like, you're not fully there. Like, you're not hearing it. You're not feeling every word because, you know, you have to do it all the time. And what I found actually is that when I don't play a song for a while and then I play it again for the first time after maybe like a month or so, it does feel fresh. And so actually, like, because I haven't been on tour, I've just been writing, I've been in the studio. I really haven't been playing that song that much. And then last week, I was a part of like a big virtual Shabbat. And I ended up playing Father Time on the Zoom, you know, which was pretty cool. And when I started playing it, it was this weird experience where I was like, it was like they weren't my lyrics anymore. It was sort of like the lyrics just kind of existed, and I was saying them, but I wasn't reciting them. It was like I was really saying them, and it did put me in this sort of like weightless moment where I was like, wow, like I really do wish I could slow down time. It really does feel like everything. And, you know, again, I'm not trying to say that this is the specific meaning of the song at all, because I think the beautiful thing about a song is the meaning can change. But in that moment, I was just like, everything that's happening with coronavirus, everything that's happening like around the world, everything that I'm trying to do to get ready to like put out new music and take my career to the next level, like all of it is just like this like stuff that we're like filling. And I had this moment where I just wanted to just take a back seat and just, it was almost like instead of like trying to tame time, which is what I feel like I often am trying to do in my life. I'm trying to like fit time into like these little boxes and like really tame it, like make it this thing that I am the master of. Like I am the master of my schedule and my calendar. And like it was this moment where I was like, I want to just experience time without my input.
Well, I feel especially in this sort of coronavirus time, I thought it was going to feel kind of like an isolation tank, you know, where like you really feel the minutes kind of creep along, like you really feel it stretch out. I feel because every day has kind of felt the same. I'm like gripping and like just like almost flailing to try to like we have this joke around the house where we say, I can't believe it's already midnight. And we'll say it at 5 p.m. We'll say it at 3 a.m. We'll say it at every hour of the day.
Love that.
because for us, it's like we've lost all concept of time, A, and B, like all of a sudden it's nighttime. All of a sudden, like you've done these 3 things and the day is gone. Like it's just really, you know.
Totally. I totally relate to that.
It's been almost terrifying, like how like these days have not seemed to stretch on, but instead have actually been kind of zipping by in the monotony. And I'm, you know, it's a bit scary, but I know I'm glad that song always means a lot. One, I think it needs more love, so I wanted to give it a little amp. But also when you played it at Moroccan and Keenan like danced in the shadow, I just absolutely lost it. Like it really hit home.
You know, that was like one of those moments where it was just like I'd had a vision of something like that, floating in my mind for so long. Ever since I wrote the song, I was like, there's this kind of bounce to it that could be like, I had just imagined like a solo male dancer who is and is not Father Time. Like,
well, what I like about it is that
he just killed it.
It almost reminds me of Remember Me from Coco, in the sense that like the song is somewhat bubbly and somewhat like up-spirited and has all this like acoustic energy to it, and yet it is crying out for something. It is crying out in Remember Me to be remembered, in this to just enjoy this moment, because it is moving so fast, and there is an almost desperation to the song.
Honestly, my heart is full, man. I even just hearing you talk about it, like it feels like we're talking about like a really good friend of mine who's doing like, and I'm just like, man, you're right. I love that person.
Yeah, he's just doing so well, you know. I took a segue away from you, so I want to give it back to you.
Yeah, you did. You know what? You did.
I'm sorry. I might show my rules, but you can have it.
Fair enough. So what I wanted to say was actually, so Kobe produced Busy. That was my segue into the thing that I'm really excited to be talking to you about, which is I want to take a little self-promotional second here.
Take a self-promotional minute, my guy.
Talk about my new pyramid scheme.
Hey,
sign me up.
Sell us lotion.
Yeah. It's called Download My EP and then get 5 other friends to do it. So it's a terrible pyramid scheme. It's missing at least 2 of the other 3 parts.
It's more of a cylinder scheme, really. You know?
Yeah. It's more of a chainmail operation. But basically, Kobe and I have been working really, really hard on the new EP, which is really exciting for me because, to be honest, it's actually like my first project as a artist. Like my first real, like, where I feel like I have a statement that I'm making as a project instead of just individual songs. And like, even though like I put out like the acoustic EP, it's more like an acoustic collection. Like, and because it's songs that were already out, like it was more just like, a new take on songs that people already heard. But this is like the first time that I felt brave enough to be like, I have a statement to make. And the EP is called Baggage.
Nice. Oh, nice.
There's going to be baggage related promo puns for sure. but I'm just really, really excited about it. It's the sort of tagline that I would have for the EP, like in my own head. And it's actually something that Kobe said to me. Like I knew that I wanted Kobe to be the producer for it. Like basically after we made Busy, just the process of working with him, it was so fun and so like free, and it allowed me to like access a part of myself that I felt like I hadn't previously that I knew that I wanted Kobe to be the producer for this EP. And that's the other thing is, being in like the session world of LA, like I was so used to like doing one song with one person, one song with another person, one song with another person, that like to have a really cohesive project, I was like, I want to make it with one person. And the whole EP is basically inspired. Well, there's actually a lot of things, including like the whole ayahuasca experience that Nate, you and I have spoken about previously, which I could go into, but it's long and it's not part of the point I want to make.
Do you have a TLDR version of the ayahuasca trip?
It changed my life. I was able to let go of really old, unhelpful stories and able to start asking myself new questions, which has allowed me to make the kind of music that I want to make and be more authentic as a person and as an artist and everything that I want to do with my life. It's been really incredible.
We are pro psychedelic on Talking Lion, just collectively.
It's not for everybody, but for the people who take it seriously and understand that it's a very powerful tool, and like any powerful tool, it must be treated with respect, and therefore you must treat it with yourself with respect in terms of doing it and being prepared and like really thinking of it like it's not a game,
It's
it
a
can
therapy
seriously
session.
change your life. It's
I
brain
haven't done
surgery.
ayahuasca, but like LSD is a therapy session.
It is, and ayahuasca is brain surgery.
Wow.
It's like a whole other level, and it's the best thing I've ever done that I probably will never do again.
Yeah.
but it's amazing that you and Kobe are working on this project with this sort of new insight into your artistry.
Yeah, it's been huge, and that's why it feels like everything else that I've done was like just setting the foundation for me to be able to make this EP. And this almost feels like the first time that I'm like going to be putting out music that is like this raw and this real. And the whole, like I was saying, like the whole tagline for this EP is like me writing about the shit that I was always too afraid to talk about. And like really digging deep and exploring the parts of myself that as an artist that I was like, that I did not previously allow myself to touch. That's why the EP is called Baggage, because it's about like putting that baggage on display and shedding it.
I love that, man. I'm excited for it to come out, and I'm sure you'll have a new listenership with the Songland fans coming on. So again, everybody's late to the Axel Mansoor train, but better late than never. And
Better late than never.
And I think baggage feels really fitting. I think it takes a lot of bravery to finally be like, hey, this is what I want to be making. Are you ready for the question round?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Before we get there, I do want to just shout out two things about you that I appreciate. The first is you sing Hebrew songs.
I do.
At your live shows. And it's amazing. I remember the first time I heard you sing Shalom Aleichem. It was at Hotel Cafe. And I just like got very emotional because I felt kind of seen. Like I had not heard in this sort of pop world that we are, in this Hollywood world that we are, I hadn't heard, like the music that was part of my childhood and my family's culture, like played, live. And it was just really cool to hear, especially coming from your voice. That was the first thing I wanted to shout out. Second thing is that I believe you are the first guest that we've had on our show with a Daytime Emmy nomination.
Oh my God. That's funny. I forgot about that until you brought it up.
You are Daytime Emmy nominated, Axel Mansoor.
I am Daytime Emmy nominated.
That should be in your Twitter bio.
Daytime Emmy loser.
I had a Emmy award losing songwriter.
Love
in
it.
My bio for a while.
That's great.
Anyway, I just wanted to shout out those two things. There was no clean segue. I just was like, thank you for singing Jewish music, and thank you for being our first Emmy nominated guest.
Thank you, man. It's a real honor. I've had a lot of fun on this. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to listen back and share this with people.
Dude, of course. I'm very grateful we got to do this,
Finally.
Yeah.
Despite the quarantine.
Yes. You ready for the questions?
You ready for the question round?
Let's do it. Lightning round. Let's go.
All right. First question. What is your phone background?
It's like the 10 principles from The Artist's Way.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's cool. What's your favorite principal?
You know what's hilarious is that I thought by putting it as my background, I would read it every day because that's what she says in the book to do. And instead, by putting it as my background, I guaranteed that I would not read it.
Yeah, that's true, because you kind of don't notice your background.
Well, you'd
don't
be
notice
surprised
it.
at how often we've asked this question and people like have to look at their background.
Yeah.
You know, like people aren't really paying attention to, you know, what it is.
Yeah, it's a background.
It's background.
It's background.
Do you have any non-musical hobbies?
Right now, my hobby right now is playing Call of Duty Warzone.
Oh,
Hey.
nice. I played a couple rounds of that the other night.
We've been playing a lot
fun.
of Overwatch.
We've been playing a lot of Overwatch in this house.
we should play it together. We
Wait,
can
what's
do
your
crossplay.
console? What's your system?
Yeah, what are you playing on?
I'm on PS4.
Oh shit.
Us too. Do you have a skill that you would like to have?
I would love to either be able to make sushi or code.
Ooh, those are good ones.
Okay.
Axel Mansoor, what is your superpower?
Making people feel good
Nice.
about themselves.
I can vouch.
Yeah, can
Yeah.
confirm. Most important question of the Talking
Most
Lion
important.
universe: would you be a pirate?
I'm a ninja girl.
Whoa.
I mean,
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah,
know?
you don't strike me as the pirate type. You're too.
I'm not a
You're
pirate
too
type.
loving.
I could not be a pirate.
Do you have any tattoos?
I do. I have three. I have 3 tattoos.
What was your first one?
My first tattoo is a Magen David, Star of David, on my chest, which I got pledging a fraternity, which in Vegas.
Nice.
I got it in Vegas.
Holy. Okay, that's the most like Jewish frat.
It's
thing
the
I've ever
frattiest
heard
thing
from
I've
you.
ever done.
That's great.
But it's a small little tasty. It's very small. It's not like a
Are you
huge one.
flashing
It's
us
just
right
like a
now?
small. Yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, that's cute.
yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like a little third nipple, a little
Yeah.
bit.
We'd
Which
love
is
to hear
definitely
it.
what that symbol wanted to be when it was created. So that was my first tattoo.
What was the first concert you attended?
Probably a Periphery concert.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
That
That
makes
tracks.
sense.
Yeah,
What's
I
your-
think it was at Ram's Head in Baltimore.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Kiss from a Rose. Seal.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right,
That's
all right.
Whoa, wow.
We gotta go karaokeing after all this is over.
I know. I would love to hear you sing "Kiss."
Oh
from a
man, I
Rose.
would love to go karaoke. And my first karaoke experience was in Japan, and I feel like
Ooh.
after that, it's just I don't know if I can do it in the States.
That's fair. Well, we'll just have to go to Japan together.
Yeah.
Fair.
Fly on over.
Down.
We'll take the PJ.
Hey,
Let's go.
flights now are $50
Yeah, exactly.
everywhere in the world. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Favorite movie, book, and TV show, respectively.
Okay, favorite movie: Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth. Interesting.
Yes. Favorite book would actually be a book I recently read. It's kind of a toss-up. There's two books that kind of changed the way I looked at writing in terms of like what a fictional novel could be. One early life was Curious Incident of the Dog in the
Oh
Nighttime.
yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
a great book.
And the second most recent book is this book called Fates and Furies. I don't make a ton of time to read, and also generally like I usually get more distracted by video games than anything else. So like even if I start reading a book, I may not finish it.
Reading is hard.
No, guys, life hack. Play a video game with like a 5-minute
Read in the minute, read in the
matchmaking.
loading screens.
Yeah. So like I've been playing Overwatch, and like usually it's like 5 to 8 minutes to like load.
I feel like that works better with nonfiction than it does with like a novel you'd want to get lost in.
Well, I'm not gonna read like Infinite Jest in the in the waiting screen for Overwatch, but
I feel like that's an incredible life hack for very specific people.
no, there's somebody listening to this like, oh,
There is somebody listening to this who plays Overwatch with a DPS character.
Yeah. Favorite TV show.
Favorite TV show. Have you seen Hannibal?
No.
The TV
I've heard
series?
good things about it.
It is terrifyingly incredible. It is horrible and incredible. Like I will not watch that show again, and yet I will recommend it to everyone I have ever met because it's like the first 2 seasons are phenomenal. The third season is definitely not as incredible, but by then you'll be a fan, so you'll watch it anyways, and the ending is pretty satisfying. But the fact that they were able to even make that show, considering everything that happens in it, and that it was a network TV show, it's like if HBO made a network TV show.
Weird.
It doesn't make sense.
Does Anthony Hopkins make any cameos?
No. And he
I'm
doesn't
not
need to
watching
because
it.
the
I'm
guy who
out.
plays Hannibal is like so perfect. That show is so good. Brian is the one who got me onto that show. Brian watches more TV than anyone I've ever met in my entire life.
Maybe we'll watch Hannibal. Do you hear that? It's the silence of the lambs.
That's how you end a podcast, right?
No, we have more questions.
And speaking of silence, do you have a favorite sound?
The man with the segues.
My favorite sound in the world is when you go hiking up somewhere in the mountains of LA and you just stop and you can't hear a damn thing.
They call it the silence of the lambs.
Yeah, but honestly, that kind of silence that like is uninterrupted by even nature, like, but uninterrupted by like wildlife, where it's literally just quiet. Which I've realized is a specifically California, like SoCal thing because it's the desert. So like if you're hiking during the day, like in SoCal desert, if you stop and there's no cars and there's no people, you just hear silence.
Yeah.
Of the lambs.
Of the lambs. And then out of nowhere,
Shut up, lambs. You're ruining all the silence. What's the best date you've been on?
I've been dating the same person for 9 years, so we've had a lot. Probably one of the most memorable dates actually was a date gone horribly wrong. For our anniversary, I took Emma to San Diego and we rented a little catamaran or like a little sailboat. Funny thing is that Emma and I have never sailed. And they didn't teach us how to sail. They were just like, oh, you'll figure it out. And the wind was especially strong that day.
Oh, no.
And what ended up happening was it was like this little like circular channel, but there was like an overpass. There was like a bridge because of like a highway. And we started to like head towards this highway and realized that this is how little I know about sailing, whatever, like the mast, I don't know, the big thing that points up, the main point that points up, I don't know, the tallest part of the boat where the sail is like strung from. This is why they shouldn't have put us in a sailing boat. Anyways, top of the mast, we're heading towards this overpass, and Emma and I both realized that we don't know how to steer a sailboat. And it's just like heading towards this, and we realize that this mast is probably gonna hit the top or like the ceiling of this overpass, and it's gonna break, and we're gonna have to pay for this boat. And so Emma starts freaking out. I'm like trying to like direct the boat, even though I have no idea how to sail, because we were trying to like go in the opposite direction, but like the wind was pushing us that way, and we had no idea. It was like, but the wind keeps pushing us this way. Like, how are you supposed to? Then and I found out later that there's like a technique called tacking where you have to go like side to side to side. But like they only told us that after the fact. And like we're heading there. Emma's like crying. I'm like trying to stay calm and like trying to figure out like what to do. What really saved us was that there was like literally, I swear there was like maybe an inch of clearance.
Oh my God.
And this is like, I don't know, the mast was probably like a good like 12 feet high or something. Like it was tall enough that like there was no way I could have judged it. So like it just barely cleared, and we got so lucky. And like somehow underneath the underpass the wind was coming in differently, so there was a bank, and I was able to like maneuver the boat into the bank, and then we like pulled it ashore. But we came so close to just like destroying this boat. It was insane. Like that's still a story that Emma and I tell our friends because it's just like gross negligence. So that was like a very memorable, and like that was our anniversary. And you know, at the time, like, you know, it was very scary and like frustrating. And then like after the fact, like Emma and I just laugh about it all the time now. So
that's great. Do you have a scar with a story?
Do I have a star with a story?
You have a scar with a story.
Oh, a scar with a story.
Do you have a jar with a Bori?
I have several of those.
Do you have a car with a lorry?
What else you got?
Do you got a bar with a flurry?
All right, so I do have a scar with a story. I still have a scar. It's a 3-pronged scar from when this girl, I was in 4th grade. I forgot who did what, but basically one of them pushed me up against a fence during recess, and the other dug her nails into my arm until I started bleeding, and I still have the scars from that.
Damn.
Kids are fucking cruel.
Are brutal.
Yeah, so actually, just a quick segue to the EP. One of the songs on the EP is called "Kids Can Be So Stupid," and it's a song about being bullied as a kid. Kids can be really mean. I definitely experienced a lot of that. So yeah, that is definitely one of the story. But it's nice. It's a reminder. The nice thing about other kids causing me a lot of pain is that it made me want to be the kind of kid that didn't cause other pain. So in a way, I really have to thank her. But I still haven't totally forgiven people like her. I think part of making this EP and making these songs is like my own process of forgiveness.
Hey Twerp, give me your lunch money.
Give me your EP money.
Give me your Spotify stream money.
Hey, kid. I'm bullying. We're bullying you now. Talking Line has devolved.
Take it in 0.001% of a cent. Can I?
Give me your lunch money.
Give me your lunch money.
Yeah, the lunch money being the entire streaming revenue of your EP after.
Yeah, exactly.
What are 3 thoughts you have at this very moment?
I'm hungry.
Nice.
Same.
I'm so excited it's the weekend because I've worked so hard this week.
What's the difference?
There is no difference actually, except I don't allow myself to play video games during the week. I only play video games on Friday night to like Sunday day, but like I don't play Sunday night.
I wish I had like a modicum of discipline.
Well, I told you, life hack. The way that I do it is I hide the power cord from myself.
Oh yeah, I forgot you told me that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's genius.
What are you most proud of?
I am most proud of my relationship with my girlfriend and my relationship with myself.
I love that.
Important.
That's important.
Those are big ones.
Those are huge ones.
And looking to the future, what are you most excited for?
I am really excited for this EP to come out. I'm really excited to share this EP because I think it just feels like me putting something into the world that, I just feel really proud of. And I feel like I'm saying something important to me. And I feel like it will help people.
Well, we can't wait to hear it. We've been fans and friends for a really long time. And it's just been so cool to see how we've all grown up together.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see your Songland episode. I hope everybody listening will watch your Songland episode. I hope H.E.R listens to this and hits you up for a FaceTime writing session. And I
hope she does.
We'll keep an eye out for Baggage. But Axel, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're doing great things, and I can't wait.
Love you guys. Thank you for having me.
We would like to thank Alan C. for supporting Talking Lion on Patreon and Isotope.